mic is on. Okay, everybody, welcome to the HCRA meeting, the Hampden County Radio Association. If that's not what you're here for, then you're in the wrong room, but please stick around. It's good. So as we always do at the beginning of the meeting, I will encourage everybody to turn your phone ringer off, and I will lead by example and do the same to mine. Don't worry, I will remind you to turn it on again at the end. And we'll start with a little roll call. So this is just a quick thing we do to get everybody to help learn each other's names and call signs, hopefully, and maybe I'll eventually learn your names and call signs too. So what we'll do is your name. If you have a call sign, give your call sign, what town you live in, and then, tonight's question, do you have any ham radio goals for 2025? Maybe get licensed or upgrade or whatever, all right? So think about that. And I will start off. My name is Alan, AB1XW. I am currently the president of this organization because I drew this short straw. And I live in Longmeadow. Ham radio goals for 2025, try to get on the air more and activate some POTA parks. And we'll go to Marvin.
Marvin Turner, DXing, and trying to get more. I'm just putting out my 50th podcast will come out as of this next week, and so doing more podcasts and trying to do more photo activations. And of course, this month's really busy for me, being the president of Winter Field Day, trying to get everything done for getting everything outdoor and everything that we're working on. So that's been very busy. So yeah, looking forward to it.
All right.
Tim, KC1 FRG, East Longmeadow. In the goals, yeah. More antennas on.
Hi, Steve. Kilo Charlie 1, Kilo Echo Zulu, Springfield. Goals, I have several antennas that I have to put up this spring. So George is around. Is George? All right, anyway, George helped me for the last one, so I was hoping that he'd be here tonight and we could talk about it. But anyway, that's the scoop.
Hi, Steve, WA1ZEV, Simsbury, Connecticut. Got this gentleman to ham radio, and I'm proud of that.
After a few years.
Right. Okay. I've been quite involved with UHF and VHF, and I have the HF rig, and it's sitting there collecting dust, so hopefully we're going to dust it off and hang some dipoles in the trees and communicate greater distances.
Excellent.
Bob from Northampton, WA10JN, and I'd like to get some better antennas out there and fix the broken ones.
John, K1VOI, Hampden. I just want to finish with my antennas in the back of the house.
Jürgen NV1Q from Southwick, and I have every year the same goal, getting on the DXing honor roll. So maybe this year.
How far you got to go?
I think 2 more.
There you go.
Okay. Let's continue down this column and then we'll come up this way. So.
Evening, Jim, KK1W from Brimfield. Ham radio goals for this year. My goal was to make DXCC on 6 meters. And I did that on the first day of this year. I went down to the shack to start the marathon setup for the next club log for the club. And I looked up and there was 6 meter opening on
Wow.
South America, and I worked my final 3.
So you're done.
I'm
Okay.
done, yeah. I'm done.
What mode, Jim?
What?
What mode?
FTA, of course.
Of course.
What is that?
It's the one that you get all the contacts on.
Oh, maybe that's
The problem. You only need 2 of
I
them.
know, that's how I get around.
Next.
Larry, KD1RB, Chicopee, and goal probably on a roll, but have not reached out yet. Have 302 contacts, Waiting for one more card to come in, and unofficially I'll have 303 if that comes in. And that's from Jarvis Island.
Nice.
And that's it.
Paul Ennifergy from Leeds. I guess my goal is, I set it every year to try and beat my own record and try and work DXCC on all 3 modes by the end of March. And I accomplished it on F8 by noon today, so I started on CW already.
You guys got to save some for later, jeez. All right, in the back row.
Dave, KC10VR, I'm from Southampton. My goal this year is to get out into more parks and make some activations.
Paul, KC10OC. My primary goal is to get the rest of my house grounded out properly, get my long antenna up. That's it for right this minute.
Cool.
My biggest goal.
My name is Carl, KC1LGF, West Springfield. I got no goals.
Just keep it open, that's good.
We're going to get you that boat activation.
There we go.
I'm Bradley, N1FJ, and I think my goals are about the same.
Next meeting.
I'm Jeff, NT1K from West Springfield. I guess my goal this year is going to be the same goal I had for the past 4 years, is to get the beam that's on my roof working again. Because right now I have no antennas. I haven't used any HF rigs in my house in the past year. So
Wow.
I would like to get back on the air, and if I manage to get back on early enough, I would hopefully try to aim for 5-band, to complete my 5-band DXCC by the end of the year.
Nice.
I'm Andrew. This is my first time being here. I just did my technician class exam like last week. So,
Awesome.
to get a call sign and get on the air.
Awesome.
We submitted it, by the way. We just
John, KC1RME, Belchertown. It's also my first time here. I'm hoping to get on HF, get an HF rig, and then pass my extra.
Excellent plan. Yeah. Easy?
W1AEZ. My goal this year, gosh, I had a couple, but it's definitely going to be POTA, finishing up my NFED for HF and get some DX out there. So that's my goal for the year. But POTA's going to be fun too.
Yeah. Carol?
I'm Carol, I'm from Belchertown, and my goal is to pass and get my SCC license.
Awesome. Yeah.
Dwayne, Elton, Connecticut, KC1FQB. The only real goal I'm trying to shoot for is to get my extra license. I've only been trying that for the last 3 years and flopped every time. So I'll try again this year.
4th time's the charm. All right.
I'm Jeff, KC1BEO, Holyoke, and trying to go for this year. My goal is to get the general. So.
Excellent.
Aaron, KF1G, I live in Bernston, and my goals, I guess, are to get an antenna up, because I just moved in, and to not freeze to death, and for winter.
Excellent, excellent goals. All right. And
Nick, K1NZ in Munson, and I guess my goals are to fix all of the antennas that have become busted over the past couple of years that I've been neglecting, and also just keep picking away at those new ones.
Cool.
If they ever appear, though. That's
that is always the trick. All right, well, thank you. Couple of announcements before we get to the meat of the meeting. First of all, if you are an ARRL member and you need to renew, or if you are not an ARRL member, you should join. When you do either of those transactions, please go through the club. It doesn't cost you any more, but we get a kickback from the league. There are instructions in every copy of Zero Beat. You can find it under the newsletter tab on the website. We get a commission for new memberships and a little smaller commission for renewals, so that helps out the club at no cost to you. And we'll go ahead with, actually, I'll go ahead through the other announcements after the talk, because that's what you're probably here for. And tonight, Nick, K1NZ, our own, is going to give us a free trip to a tropical island in the South Pacific.
2 tropical islands.
Vicariously. Two tropical islands, yes, vicariously. Nick, take it away.
All right, so as, Alan, I think I need to get the mic off of your lapel.
Oh, yes, that is correct. Otherwise, you'll just hear me breathing.
Thank you. All right, so as some of you guys know, I went on to a trip to Vanuatu this past October. Was there for about 2 weeks, had a couple days of travel, and here's my recap of the trip. So, how the heck did I get involved with this, and how did I find out that there was a DXpedition going to Vanuatu? Honestly, just by chance. I was just scrolling on Facebook at some point in time, and I happened to just scroll by one of those DX news sites that just puts little blurbs out here and there, and I don't remember which one it was, but they said, hey, there's a group of people going to Vanuatu in October, and they're looking for people to go. So it's like, huh, sounds interesting. So I went over to the YJ0VV QRZ page and checked it out, kind of read the little blurb that was there, and they're saying, oh yeah, we're looking for a couple more people to go, and it'll cost you about $1,300 or so for your stay in the villa, plus another couple of $100 for food, and you're on your own for airfare and stuff like that. And kind of thinking about it, all right, I could probably swing that, and sent N4VGE, Van, the gentleman who's heading the trip. I sent him a little note and said, hey, can I get a little more info? I'm kind of interested on this. And comes back and was like, all right, well, go talk to the folks over at work in HR, see, all right, well, do I have enough time? All right, I think I do. It's going to take my entire balance of vacation, sick, and personal time. So after the trip, or even before, if I get hit by a bus, so I still got to show up to work. So, but was able to make it work. So I officially signed on, I think somewhere around June, July, somewhere in that time frame, and I was officially in. So now, the question you may be asking too is, why go to Vanuatu? Why fly to this little chain of islands all the way halfway across the world out by, it's kind of between Fiji, Australia, New Caledonia, Solomon Islands, that kind of part of the world. And N4VG, who's Van, who's in charge of it, was, well, we want to go somewhere that's kind of rare. I think at the time, Vanuatu was somewhere around 115 overall. I think they were 85, 83-ish, 87, somewhere in that range on sideband. And it seemed, all right, well, we can give a pretty decent chance of getting a new country in the log for a bunch of people. So that's one of the things checked off. The other one needs to be XYL friendly, in that he was bringing his wife with him. So needed to have somewhere pretty comfortable to stay at, safe, comfortable, and there needed to be a lot of things to do to keep the folks busy that weren't going to be on the radio all the time, and check that box off too. And as a bonus, there were a couple of POTA sites on the island, and actually I don't think any of the POTAs in Vanuatu had been activated until the couple that we did. So those were kind of why he was putting this whole trip together, and it attracted a few of us. So fun part is getting there. So I had a nice string of flights. So I flew from Bradley out of Hartford to Charlotte, North Carolina, then to LAX. Had a little bit of a layover at LAX, and you can see we've got our nice pile of baggage over there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those carts, and then there's another small pile of stuff behind there. And From LAX, we flew to Nandi, Fiji, and that was about 12 hours. And then another 2 hours to jump over from Nandi over to Port Vila, Vanuatu. So I flew out of Bradley on Sunday, October 13th at 10 in the morning, and I arrived in Port Vila, Vanuatu, Tuesday, October 15th at 6:30 p.m. So about 41 and a half hours of travel time, but you also lose a day because you're going the wrong way over the date line. So I left LAX Sunday night, and then it was Tuesday by the time we got to Fiji. And then we had about a half an hour car drive from the airport to the villa we were staying at. We ended up renting a mid-sized truck to cart all of our stuff around, and we actually had to have the gentleman who's kind of in charge of the bookings and stuff arrange for an extra van to bring all the stuff with us, because there was no way we were fitting everything and all the people in the truck. So here's the crew of us. On the left, we've got John, K4QQG, and we each all got our own Vanuatuan calls just because, now, it's only like 23 bucks, and the process was pretty much fill out a little form, send a copy. Actually, I don't think I even need to send a copy. Just fill out a form, pay the fee, and pick what call you want, and there you go. So we got John, K4QQG, Van, N4VGE, and his wife Vicky, and then there's me in the middle there, Savo, K2SAV, and his wife Judy, and then Van's daughter Michelle on the end. And none of us actually knew each other before this whole trip, and we're from all parts of the states. So John's in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Van and Vicky are in Charleston. I'm in Munson, as I said a little earlier, and Savo and Judy are in the Schenectady area, and Michelle is, I believe it's Waco, Texas. So we all kind of flew in, met up in LAX, and then we were on the same plane from LAX to Fiji. So part of the reason for picking Vanuatu was, well, we wanted somewhere that was had some decent accommodations. So we rented a private villa that's right on the ocean. And this picture on the left here is kind of our general general living area. So you can see the kitchen in the foreground. Got a couple of couches on the sides over there. On the right-hand corner near the windows, we've got our table set up for the 2 stations. And we got another picture of it later, but outside the window there, you've got a little bit of a grassy couple trees. Then it turns into beach, and then the coral reef right out our window. And then we each had our own little suite. So we got a bed, bathroom, shower, all in each little suite. So there were 3 detached buildings from the main living area. So that one's a picture of Van, Vicky, and Michelle's, because they had a little separate twin bed for her. And I think I have another one. Oh yeah, so the one on the right is the main living area. The little one on the left is Savo and Judy's room. And then through that underpass there, half of that building was me and half of it was John. So we all had our own little room, little private bed, and we were, for the most part, on our own for food. So we stopped at Aubon Marsh on the way from the airport, picked up food, and whenever we go to town, we do some grocery shopping. So we were preparing most of our meals in-house, and a couple times we were eating out, but for the most part, just to kind of save a little bit on the budget, we were eating at the villa. And yeah, here's another picture. I said we're right on we have a little lawn there, and then we're right on the beach. Ooh, I guess I put that same picture in twice and didn't realize it. All right. So we also had this nice little ocean-fed pool that we could partake of, and the name of the villa was Asana, and they've got a nice little welcome to Asana in seashells that are cemented right into the pool. And then here's a couple more pictures. The one on the left, you can see the little indent on the side of it. That's kind of the ocean-fed pool. And as you can see, not really great for swimming. There's a lot of coral, a lot of rocks, and they are quite sharp. So it's a good thing they have the pool if you want to do some swimming, but you're not going right out in the ocean, at least on this part of the island. And then here's a bit of a look back towards the villa from the ocean side. You can see some of the supports for some of the antennas and a few of the houses, but that's where we were staying. And hey, October, 80 degrees during the day, 65 at night. Where else could you imagine to be instead of a brisk New England fall? So you saw all the piles of equipment that we had stacked up at the airport, and well, this is kind of what it broke down to. So we had 2 stations running at the same time, so we were planning on doing multi-2 for CQ Worldwide, so that's what we ended up setting up for. So Station 1 was a Flex 6700, and we had a big honkin' MFJ tuner, and then an ACOM 1200 amplifier. And then the other side, we got a 7300, a Nye Viking tuner, and then ETO, and I think, was it Alpha that they were purchased by, or was it Alpha purchased by ETO, or one of those ways? But we had a 91B for the other amplifier. So here's a couple more close-ups of the setup. So it's my 7300 on the side there, and my laptop with the tuner and the amp in the background, and you can see the stack of power over there as well. So tried to keep both stations on the air as much as possible, and hey, we came to make cues, so that's what we were hoping to do. Antennas. So this is another kind of panorama looking around. You can see we've got some of the phased dipole, the 40-meter phased dipole over here. You got a big old bamboo pole, bamboo and fiberglass pole holding up a doublet over there, but I got a little more details. And all right, so had quite the pile of antennas to choose from. So we had the doublet for 10 through 160. As you can see, we got some ladder line. We had ladder line all over the place for that thing. We had a buddy hex for 6 through 20, 50-meter 5/8 wave vertical, which was right on the ocean, and 40-meter phased verticals. And after about a week or so, we were having some issues with them. The supports kept falling down, so instead of those, we put up a 40-meter dipole. And I also brought a DX Commander. We used that for a couple of the POTA excursions, but we also set it up back at the villa for a little more flexibility, especially during the contest, so we could get a couple stations going on the high bands at the same time. And then we had a 6-meter beam, because we had a few folks that requested 6 meters, so didn't really catch any good openings on 6, but we tried at least. So the main support for the doublet was about a 15-foot bamboo pole that we then lashed, I think it was another 40-ish foot fiberglass mast to, and had that guide at the top. It's a little tricky to see on the projector here, but we've got some guy wires coming off the top of that, and these little teepees that we've got across the beach, those are all holding the ladder line. So we tried to get as much ladder line up in the air as possible to help tune this thing from 160 all the way down to 10. And then got our nice hex beam up in the air. We also have the DX Commander on one of the POTA sites, so that's 10 through 40 vertical with some sets of radials that bolt on at the bottom. And then we've got Van and Michelle helping to put up the 15 meter 5/8 wave. As you can see, like I said, we're right on the rocks, right in the water, and that thing did quite well to Europe. And we've got on the right, you can see the 2 phased verticals, and then kind of between them in the back, you can see the 15 meter. And the little cross here that's on the left, that's kind of sitting over the pool there, and that's to hold the radials for it. So for operating, it was basically, well, we got 2 seats open. We were trying to keep them filled at all times, and I did a lot of FT8, and that's just kind of personal preference, but also some of the other guys, they were more phone guys, so I figured, well, I can do some of the digital stuff and take that load away. It doesn't bother me if I'm not running crazy pile-ups on sideband. I was more interested in just having button chair time, so I opted to let the other guys do more of the sideband stuff. John, while he was there, he was kind of split 50-50. He started doing some sideband, but depending on when we were operating, propagation was a bit interesting, to say the least. And he started doing a little more FT8 because it was drawing a little bit more of a crowd than some of the sideband, especially when we're getting spotted and no one's coming to work you. It gets a little boring after a while, so you're trying to go where the rate is. And then Savo and Van were mostly sideband themselves. And some of the notes that I've noticed with operating from the South Pacific, once daybreak rolls around, you've got a few hours where 10, 15, 20 are nice and open to North America, because we were 11 hours ahead of UTC, which meant at the time we were 15 hours ahead of North America. So when we're getting up in the morning, you guys are getting your evening gray line heading to bed time frame. So early morning, high bands were open in North America, and then kind of around noon, just nothing was open really anywhere. You'd get your slow trickle of JAs, VKs, ZLs, but swapping between 10, 15, 20, it was really slow going. And then once the afternoon kind of moves on a little bit, you get closer to dusk, then the high bands start opening to Europe. And my goodness, the Europeans on 15 from right around 6 p.m. local to about midnight were relentless. Just like over here, you wake up in the morning, you hop on 15 meters, you're running Europe till at least noon. Well, for us it was, you're running Europeans from the evening until about midnight, when it's too pitch black to work them anymore. And since John had to leave halfway through the expedition, he had a family medical emergency, we were down to just 3 ops for a full multi-2 CQ worldwide. So we have 96 hours to cover between 2 stations, so that's 36 apiece, I believe. So we kind of split that down into 3-hour shifts, and you'd operate 6 hours at a time, and then you had 3 hours off to go nap, and then 6 hours at a time, 3 hours off to go nap. And after a while, it starts getting to you, because nothing like a good night's sleep. And contesting isn't well written for that. So, And unfortunately, I'm not sure if it was just propagation wasn't on our side, or we could have planned the antennas better, or we just weren't picking the right bands at the right time. But you'll see the results in a little bit. But it was quite the slog, and we're sitting there calling CQ for quite a bit of time, and even when we're trying to search and pounce and clean up the band, I'm calling stations 3, 4, 5 times before they can hear me. So the contest itself wasn't as exciting as we would have liked it to be, but we did put our best effort forward and tried to get as many in the log, even through the rough and tumble of it. Now, I threw this slide in real quick because we were one of the, I think we were maybe the 3rd or 4th stations that they issued a Super Fox key for FT8, and it was definitely an improvement when it worked, because the way it's designed, it's one large continuous encoded signal versus regular Fox and Hound, where you're splitting it into multiple streams, and the more streams you split it into, you lose some of your power going out. And they also encoded a higher throughput, so you could work, I think, 8 or 9 stations at once in Super Fox. The problems I noticed with it were, even if you'd spot yourself and you'd call CQ, you could call CQ for 20 minutes as a Super Fox and not work anybody. Switch over to regular Fox and Hound and then instantly generate a pileup. So I think part of it was still a little too new for some folks to figure it out, or they didn't have the right version of the software, or just weren't familiar with it. But I kind of bounced back and forth based on, well, if the Super Fox is working, let's work it. If it's not, well, let's go back to regular Fox and Hound. And especially on some of the lower bands, like 80, when you're only working 1 or 2 stations at a time, it made more sense to work the regular than it did to do the Super Fox. But it's still a work in progress, and I think once it gets a little bit more polished, I foresee more of the DXpeditions moving that way. All right, so how did we do? So we only ended up with about 1,359 contacts in CQ worldwide across 2 stations. So a little bit disappointing. Wasn't really what we were looking for. The group that was there last year, I think, ended up around 5,000 queues. So that's kind of what we had set our benchmark for. So like I said, it was a little disappointing, but I have the multi-2 claimed scores for Oceania on the other side, and it looks like we came in about 5th in Oceania. Got blown away by the rest of the world, but still put in a decent showing, and hey, we won the country, so that's all that matters, right? And then I've got a couple of band mode breakdowns on just the Expedition in general. So you can see the big money band was 15 meters, where about 35% of our contacts were. And then obviously the contest bands, 40, 20, 10, had significant activity. But I did spend a decent amount of time on 30 as well, and I think we've got just a couple more queues on 30 than we did on 40. So 13,000 contacts for the 2 weeks, and out of all the folks we worked, we were able to get an all-time new DXCC to 377 people, so about 16% of the uniques that we worked. And then here's a quick little breakdown of who we worked by continent. And as you can see, it's very, very Europe and Asia centric. So 38% in Europe, 35% in Asia, about 15 in North America, and well, the last about 10% is everyone else. So the European openings, they weren't very, they weren't very long, but they were. And of course, no DXpedition can be complete without Murphy. Yeah. So, as you can see there, after I think it was the second night we were on the island, we had pretty gnarly winds. So, I think it was about 40-ish mile-an-hour winds, gusts, and we came out the next morning and the Buddy Hex was snapped. So weren't really able to get that guy back up and running, which was unfortunate because using the DX commander to replace it just isn't really the same. The little bit of gain that you get off of the beam, especially it being higher up versus the multi-band vertical, it's a significant difference. The wind also managed to collapse the fiberglass pole that we had on the doublet. So we then had to take this thing that's about 50 feet up in the air and guide and all that stuff and pull it back down, re-crank out the mast, tighten all the clamps back up and pull it back up. So took a good afternoon to fix that one. As you can see, the MFJ tuner ended up being mighty fine junked. It just didn't tune. You'd spin the inductor, you'd spin the capacitor, couldn't get it to do much of anything. So unfortunately, we kind of lost out on, or we had to finagle what antennas we were using on that station because the ACOM would just shut it, or it would go into protection mode if the SWR got a little over 2. So we had to finagle how we were operating on that station just to try and keep the amp happy or run low power. That being said, the other amp, I think it was maybe the first day, second day, I'm trying to get on 10 meters. I've got the antenna tuned with the tuner. And I'm trying to tune the amp, and about a minute or so into the tuning process, pop, thing just shuts off. I'll unplug it. A couple minutes later, go tell Van, because it's his amp, come down from the shakes a little bit, plug it back in. Well, fires back up, and then I think I didn't want to touch 10 meters on the amp didn't try it again for another week or so. The amp worked fine on all the other bands. About a week later, try tuning it again on 10. About 10-15 seconds in, start getting the that doesn't smell right. So we were barefoot on 10 for pretty much the whole expedition, but we still did a decent number of contacts, especially Fox and Hound. I think I know we worked. I know we had a decent run on 10 in the contest, but at least the entire amp didn't burn to the ground. That's always a plus. And then the other annoying issue we had too is every so often, the electricity to the whole villa would just shut off. And then Nettie, the caretaker, she would hop over the walled-in garden and reset the main breaker to the villa that was on the outside. So the way they have it set up is when the service feeds into your property, there's a main breaker there, and that's what was tripping. And it would happen maybe once or twice a night. We call the manager over and tell him like, hey, this keeps happening. He's like, all right, well, I'll get an electrician in. First week, the electrician comes, doesn't really find anything. And it was right before the contest. So we get back from Tana Island right before the contest on Friday. And he finally gets an electrician in. The electrician says, all right, well, it's the air conditioner in one of the bedrooms that's causing the whole breaker to trip. We can't fix that. So it was just, well, turn that air conditioner off. And then they ended up running power in from the villa next door to kind of distribute the load and keep us running for the 48 hours of the contest. But it was one of those, I think it was maybe the second Tuesday we were there. Van's trying to run on, I think 40 meters or 20 meters or something. I'm trying to get Fox and Hound going on 30 meters, and we get going. 5 minutes later, boom, power goes out. Nettie jumps over, resets it. All right, well, now I have to close out of WSJTX, close out of M1MM, restart my serial port splitter, fire all the programs back up, hope my pileup is still there. Okay, get running. And 5 minutes later, boom, power goes out again. So after about 3 or 4 times of this happening, we're just like, all right, well, we're going to bed tonight. We can deal with this tomorrow. But all in all, we were for the most part able to work around Murphy coming and getting us, but it's just one of those things. You're also halfway across the world. There aren't that many hardware stores kicking around in remote places like that either. So kind of hard to scrounge together some things if you're looking for something. Yep. And then I think a lot of you guys are probably looking forward towards this slide. So this is about what it cost me to make this trip out to Vanuatu. So it was $1,250 roughly for everyone's share of the villa. So it was whatever the cost was divided by 7, and it came out to $1,254. Airfare was the big one, about $2,250 for me to get from Bradley to Vanuatu and back. And fortunately, it is what it is, and there's not really much you can do about that one. And we did end up spending a couple of days on Tana Island. It's an island that's a little further south in the chain, but that's the one that had the volcano on it, and that was one of the things that we wanted to see when we were there. So it was $300 to get to Tana from Ifate and back. And while we were there, another $500 to go see the volcano, go see the banyan tree. We took a boat ride over to, they call it Blue Cave. I don't have any pictures, unfortunately, because I wasn't really willing to risk taking my phone on a boat with me and trying to swim underwater with it. But there's a cave that they have. There's an open ceiling at the top. You can see the light coming in from the top. It was about a half an hour or so boat ride over to it. You have to dive under and into a cave, and it's maybe about, I don't know, a couple of feet worth of wall, but you just kind of down and under, and you're in this cool little cave. You got the light coming in from above. But that, along with the other excursions, the couple of nights on Tana, about $500 for that. And for food and other incidentals while we were staying at the villa, we kind of kept a running tab of how much we spent when we went to the grocery stores and all that good stuff, and divided that by how many person nights each person had, and came out to about $650 for food while we were at the villa. And then a couple $100 for eating out, buying souvenirs, this, that, the other thing, just the miscellaneous other stuff. So all in all, about $5,000 to go on this trip. So out of some of the ones that I've heard stories about and people posting, and I don't know what, how many thousands of dollars did they have when they tried to go to Bouvet in like 2016 and the boat failed and they had to turn around. So I thought, well, hey, once in a lifetime experience. How often am I going to get to go to a Pacific island and hang out for 2 weeks? So I thought it was worth it and would definitely go again. Oh, and for reference, that 500 Vanuatu bill that's there is about 41 US dollars.
500 or 5,000?
5,000, I'm sorry. All right, so back when I said it has to be YL friendly and then we have to be able to do some other stuff while we were there. Well, here's some of the other fun stuff we did. So here's the 6 of us loaded up into the truck. You can see the top of my head in the back there. So we got 4 of us in the back seat and then Vicky's in the passenger seat and Van's driving. And that was a rough and bumpy half an hour to the airport. But there's a little puddle jumper we took. I forget the exact model of plane. It's a French company and the model number ended in 72 because it's supposed to be a 72 seater. I think that was right. So you arrive on Tana. That is the Whitegrass Airport. That's it. That's all you get for an airport. And landed on the tarmac, they open the door, you step right on the tarmac and have to walk around and not get your head cut off by the prop, but they put nice cones and if you follow the line, you're good. And the picture on the right there is a view out from one of the little huts we were staying at that resort on Tana. So we stayed there for 2 nights. And the first night we ended up going to Mount Yasur, which is the world's most accessible volcano, I think is what they called it. And it's an active volcano. Took us about a 2-hour ride. I got a picture of the vehicles we took, but as we were driving around the islands, every time we get to kind of a steep hill, even if it was a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, they would have these rutted kind of concrete roads just to keep the roads from washing away. And then you can see that's looking over towards the ocean. I believe the volcano's more to the right out of frame, but I wanted to show you kind of some of the roads. And let me just say, I took our roads in New England for granted, even the roads after winter in New England for granted. Because that's one of them. That's not necessarily road, that's more Jeep trail at this point. And then there's a picture of the volcano. We stopped in the ash plain, the ash sands plain. Got a couple of pictures of it while we're hanging out there, but that's where we ended up heading, and that's what we took to get there. Had that Jeep and then that other little truck Jeep thing as well. And in the back of the silver one, they had a bench mounted to the back of it, and that's what Judy and Michelle decided that they were gonna sit outside and drive the whole way out back. Yeah. They got some pretty good pictures of it too, so. And then, I'm not sure if you can see it well, but the picture on the right, you can see the Jeep in front kind of meandering its way through another one of the quote unquote roads. But ended up bringing us to the base of the caldera there. We had a little, I don't know, couple 100-foot path walk. Parts of it were kind of steep, but once you're up the path, then you are on the edge of a volcano.
Was the volcano active?
It is.
So it was spewing.
So we were up there for probably hour and a half or so. We got to the rim just as the sun was starting to go down, and
We did get a little lucky too, because it had been a overcast, kind of hazy, kind of wet, drizzly day. And when we first got there, all the smoke coming up from the volcano, plus the steam it sucked out of the air was kind of getting in the way. But right before we were about to head out, we were able to get some views of the lava down there. So it was really cool. And then if you do find yourself in that part of the world, I would say go hop over to Tana Island and check out the volcano. And then one of the other cool things they have on Tana is the Lanakal Market. It's massive. There are probably close to 300 people kind of in this market area. Got all sorts of different kinds of produce, and my goodness, some of this produce was wild. Like cabbages, probably bigger than my head, for like 40 cents a piece. Carrots, all sorts of vegetables, fruits. And unfortunately, us being Americans and having been used to the travel restrictions that the TSA puts on us, well, we didn't realize that we could load up on vegetables and stuff and bring them home with us on the plane until we got to the airport when we were leaving and seeing everybody else with sacks full of vegetables. So that was a missed opportunity, but it was really cool just to kind of see all the stuff that they had for sale and stuff. And I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit, but on the sign there, you can see the 3 languages of Vanuatu. You have English up at the top where it says stop littering. The bottom is Nipa Jita Detroitus, or pardon my French, it's awful, terrible. I don't even speak it, but same thing in French. And then in the middle there is Bislama, which is their kind of English Creole, which is one of their native languages. And it's too small for me to read at the moment, but the Bislama is written how you sort of think words should be pronounced. So if you throw all grammatical constructs out the window and slap some letters together for what you think a word should be, or what a word sounds like it should be written as, you can kind of finagle your way through what they're trying to say. But
I think it says keeping Lanakal clean.
yes, keep Lanakal clean. I was going for the little 3 pieces to the left of that a little bit.
Right, okay.
Yeah. The middle one in there is stop littering, but in there. One of the other cool things we got to see was the giant banyan tree. Now, that is one tree there in the middle. From there to there, that's one tree. And I believe it's about 200 meters across and 80 meters tall. And if you look on the one on the right, the gentleman down there was our guide through the tree. He's in the fluorescent yellow there. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, this thing is massive. And the tree and like the land around it has been in his brother's family for hundreds of years. And he said that, thinking, they don't know how old it is, but when it was discovered by the outside world in I think it was the late 1700s, that it had already been pretty darn massive. And banyan trees, they have male and female trees. This one is a female, and the reason you know that is because as the female trees grow, as their branches grow outward, they drop all the roots down. So the female trees just keep expanding and expanding and expanding, because as they're expanding outward, they're also expanding downward and just growing and growing. I think I have a little video of just how tall this thing is. I don't know if it'll play. No, maybe not. But the other piece of, I guess, lore around the banyan trees are all of the traditional villages on the islands had to be based around a male banyan tree. And that's where all of the men, the boys, the elders would congregate for the village meetings. And it is a very still male-dominated society there. The women do unfortunately not have much of a say in the goings-on, but it was still just, well, now it works. Yeah, brought us all the way in, around, up and down, and then this is back on the main island. Michelle and Judy, and I believe Savo did a little bit too. They were big into snorkeling. So these are some of the coral reefs outside of the villa. We got one of Michelle's pictures of some cool corals down there. I liked them, so I threw it in. And the last thing we did before we started heading home, we ended up going to Hideaway Island. It's a little touristy, but it's also a marine sanctuary. But there's also a resort on the island. The big draw to it is that there is the world's first underwater post office offshore there. So I wasn't feeling up for the trip because it was kind of a little drizzly, cool day. So I hung out with Vicky and our new cat friend there. Well, Van, Savo, Judy, and Michelle ended up going and putting some of our nice underwater safe, specially made postcards into the underwater drop-off box. And for the record, we put these in there, I think it was October 30th. They didn't get delivered until a week ago.
Did we go underwater all the way?
I don't think so. I don't think USPS has an underwater division.
Boston when they come.
And then a good taxpayer is a nation builder. They had a couple of these pay your taxes signs kicking around Port Vila, and we all thought that was amusing, and I threw it in at the end. So you guys have any questions?
Great talk.
And if anyone's interested, you can reach out to me if you do think of some questions later, or yep.
I do have a question. I just want to get the applause in first before the question. How did the buddy poll work before it fell over?
Well,
or did you have enough time?
we had about a day's worth with it, and it seemed to do okay. I think we did have some good runs on 20 with it, but I was on the other station, so I don't have full knowledge.
What changes would you make in the rigs that you took?
So I personally didn't really like the flex.
Screw you.
Well, it was, and part of that was because I had to learn how to program Van's flex because he didn't know how to do some of the things with his flex that we needed to get done. But I still kind of like my knobs and buttons to an extent, and just having to search around with the SDR and on the screen, and I don't like the UI, but then again, I'm also not necessarily used to it. So that's just a me thing. I think the 7300 did okay. We probably could have vetted some of the equipment a bit more. Either that or some things got a little bustled in transit. And I think the other thing to do better in the future would probably be to plan out the antennas a little bit more. These were mostly kind of, this is what Van had planned out for antennas, and he kind of led the charge on that one. And I think the only one we really had an extra choice of was, all right, we've got room for one more bonus antenna. What do you want? 10 meter or 15 meter phased, or sorry, not phased, 5/8 wave. And I think 15 was the decision, but is that good enough, Randy, or have any other thoughts? Or
Any memorable contacts?
I know I've worked KX1X on sideband during the contest. I worked Paul a couple of times on FT8. I worked Jim a couple of times on FT8. Probably a couple other folks in here. I know I was running, and I know when I got spotted because all of the multiplier stations from the big guns decided to come hunt me out. So right in a string of them, I got KC1XX, K3LR, K9CT, might have been a couple more in there, and then just the regular, okay, run the stateside guys. But it was like, all right, well, if the mult stations are finding me, I must be spotted. So, all right, let's enjoy this while it lasts. Jürgen?
Was nobody doing CW?
Nope.
Was there a reason for that?
We suck at CW. We tried to recruit some CW guys, but we just, I guess no one was aware, or no one had a chance to hop in. But if we'd have had a CW guy there, we would have done CW.
How much power were you running on FD8?
Depends. Anywhere between 100 and 1,000. Yeah. All right, gentlemen.
Still that question.
Oh.
All right, well.
And if you guys think of anything else for any other questions, shoot me a message, and I've got a whole bunch more pictures, and if you want, I can send you a link to the album that can get posted with it or something too.
That'd be great. I'll put it on the website.
All right.
All right. Very good. Well, thank you. And this is for you. Oh, speaker gets a mug.
Thank you.
All right.
No, give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, I'll take it. Announcements at this point. They're important. All right, so thank you very much, Nick. The coffee and donuts this evening are courtesy of Easy. Smitty was not able to make it. Thank you very much, Easy. Smitty, I believe, will be back next time, so see his smiling face again. Other announcements. If you have outgoing DX QSL cards that you would like to send via our service that we offer for members, talk to Paul, NF1G, who's sitting right there in the plaid shirt. And also, if anybody hasn't paid their dues for this year, please do so. And if you're not a member of the club yet, there are membership forms on the back, or you can go to the website hcra.org and join. There is also some free stuff on the back table. Free, no charge, absolutely no charge at all. Please take it. Anybody, okay? Just get it out of my basement. That's stuff that was given to the club that didn't sell at the auction, or that is just accumulated. Take it. There's an antenna. I think there's a filter there. Good stuff. Take it for parts if you like. A reminder, we have a 10-meter net on 28-375 every Monday at 7 p.m. Gary, W1JZR, is net control. He signs as W1NY. If you're on 10 meters, go ahead and check it out. Since it's on 10 and 10 is often open these days, 7 o'clock in the evening's pushing it, but we do occasionally get check-ins from far away. That's kind of cool. Check out the latest issue of Zero Beat on HCRA.org if you haven't already. I am unfortunately still editing it. Ken We desperately hope, I desperately hope, we'll be back to editing Zero Beats soon and it'll look familiar again. If you haven't signed up for our email reflector, hcra.groups.io, please do so. That's where we talk about stuff and announce stuff, so keep in touch. Remember to turn your phone ringers back on, so everybody who's been trying to reach you during the meeting can now do so. Oh my gosh. And drive safely on your way home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Help us off with going, please.